Welcome back, guys. So in the previous lesson, we kind of learned how to navigate, how to get in mesh into our scene from Megascan, how to import that externally and then plug in the necessary textures in the right slots, and also how to kind of download assets from the files marketplace and get them into our projects. Okay, so let's carry on. So in this lesson, we're going to start adjusting our lights. But before we do that, I think one other thing we need to do is to put all of this into a group. So this is our landscape. Let's put that into a folder. So I'm just going to name this to mega scan. Okay, that should be fine. I'll collapse this. Then we have all our lights in the same place. So which is fine also too. Yeah. So now I would need to kind of adjust the shadows of our light. You can see how our light kind of casting quite strong shadows. And we don't want that. We want some lighter shadows in there. So to do that, let's go to our directional lights. The directional light kind of acts like a sunlight because I believe if I should scroll down here somewhere, you see where if I can just find it, yes, you can see where it says atmosphere sunlight. So our directional light, this is acting like a sunlight now. If I turn this off, you can see it's no longer acting like a sunlight. It's kind of acting like its own natural light or artificial light. So if you turn this on, it makes it act like a sunlight. So which is fine. But now we need to kind of adjust the shadowing for it. So I'm going to go up. To adjust the shadow for it, we need to adjust the source angle. So we should do that. That also indirectly scales up our light and also soften our shadow. So let me use a value. Let's go drastic. Let's use a value of 50. Okay. So the value of 50, let's say we turn off our volumetric fog. You can see how we're getting an interesting kind of light in here with some soft shadow going on in there. We can do Control L and then we can also make this look something somewhat like some kind of sunset happening in there. Okay. Also too with our volumetric fog, you can see we turn off our volumetric fog, we should get in something that looks ash at the end. That's why we need this, no, not that's why we need this exponential height fog. So the volumetric fog will come later. So that's why we have something like this. You can see how this is looking quite interesting. We can also, let me go back to directional lights. We can also change our lights color also too if we need to. You can see how we kind of getting some nice looking scenery across this. So in case you were going for kind of interesting scenery to your scene, kind of interesting lighting that has looks something, it kind of gives this cowboy style kind of lighting, like almost like the same when they say you're kind of running into the sunset. So it gives that interesting feeling to it, which is actually kind of cool. So something like this now you can also kind of use in your scene to give it an interesting set of lights. And I'm going to hit G to remove any of these um, icons, navigation icons or general menu icons. And then you can see something like this looks quite interesting. But we're actually going for something pretty much like so. Here is what we're going for. Let me extend this a bit more. We need this in our scene a bit more. Okay, this should be fine. All right. So yeah, so moving on. So I will need to kind of add some volumetric fog to it, but before we do that, I would like to kind of get our status in here. So remember we have some status. Did I bring that in? I believe I did under assets. Okay, I did not bring that yet. So we can also quite well just download them. So it kind of comes with its materials. So we don't just kind of begin to apply the materials in there again. So I'm going to open Fabs. Okay, so I'm going to find that start tool again. Okay, so the filter, let's set this filter to free pricing. only free products. Okay, I think it's down. So just keep down. Kind of break down somewhere around here. I believe we're almost there. We have found it. So this is it. So actually click on this now. I'm going to click on add to projects. Yes, I've read, even though I don't read this, but accept, set it to, okay. Let's just click add to projects. Okay, so you can see it's downloading down here now. All right. It won't take long, so let's just give this a moment to kind of run through. All right, so it's done downloading. I think I can I can close this. I believe it's still kind of, oh yeah, it's there already. So this is it. Meshes, classic. Yes. So I believe we can pretty much use anyone though. We can pretty much use anyone. Let's use let's use this. So I'm just going to drag. I'm just going to let me make this shrink this down some more. So I'm just going to drag and drop this in here. I'll frame into it. Let's see what we get. Okay. Let's get this. I'll need to kind of scale this up. Scale this out quite well actually. Maybe something like so should be fine. I'll move this way. Okay. That should be fine. All right. Let's just check this. Okay. I'll move this forward a bit more. Okay. I'll hold alt, create another copy. Hold alt, create another copy. I think 3 copies should be pretty much fine for what we need this for. Okay. Then I'm going to select these 3. Hold alt again. Bring them around here. So we can check other views. Just click on restore layout to just check other views. We can, I'll just zoom out. Okay. So I just need to rotate them. Can I get this centered? Let me just move this, rotate this way. Continue the rotation. Okay. W, move them in place like so. All right, select this main perspective view, get in there. Okay, so you should be getting something pretty much like so. Now this looks interesting. I'll just move this here. Okay, so now we need to kind of get our camera in here so we can see what we're looking through with our camera. So I would go over to this plus icon. I'm going to add cinematic, cine camera actor. So I'll bring this into our scene. Then I'll need to tell this camera to kind of look through our viewport right now and get the same scenery with our viewport. So I'll right click this and I will do, where is that again? Okay. All right, so that's the move camera to objects, yeah, which is fine. That will work. Okay. Also, to if you want to kind of look through your camera, you can go in here and then just select Cinecam. Then you can kind of properly position this where you kind of need it to be. I'm not really liking this height information in here. So I think I need to squash this. I need to squash this down some more. That's way too much. Just a little should be fine. Okay. Let's go and then frame back into let's select one of this frame. Select the mannequin frame into. Was looking to our camera. Don't forget though. Was looking through our camera. Okay. All right. If we move our lights again. Okay. Yeah, that is fine. So now for us to kind of lock in to our camera view, we would need to open up a sequencer in here. So to do that, let's click on the plus icon, go over to, okay, no, that's not the place, that's not the place. Yes. Yes, this is it. So add level sequencer. So it's basically creating like a timeline for this. So I'll put that. I'm going to create a new folder for it actually. I'll create a new folder and I'm going to name this folder sequencer sequence. Okay. And open that up. Open that folder up. I'll just put blade runner underscore CQ. CQ should be fine. Okay, I'll save this. So it's going to automatically open our sequencer. So we need to kind of drag our camera in there. Let's drag our camera in there. So it's going to kind of lock our camera in here. We can also adjust the frame rate. I think I'm going to leave the frame rate like so. I'll leave the frame rate like as it is. So now we're kind of getting this framed. So let's adjust the camera. So we can choose a camera lens for this. You can use the 16 by 9 DSLR. We can choose that. Then under this crop, we can use this also. Okay. Similarly also, so there are also some things quite a lot of things we can do in here actually. We would need to, let's say we want to kind of set, okay, let me move out. So make some space in here. So let's say we want to kind of create some blur effect to this. We can. Let me select this, rotate this again, facing this direction. Okay. Let's say we want to kind of blow out the back, the kind of get like also focus on this. So we can do, all we can do is to select our camera. Need a bit of space in here. Okay, we can find it in here. So let's do cam. So select it. Then on the focus setting, open that up. Okay. Then we can do what we can do. We can do tracking, select tracking. Then open the tracking focus. We can just pick actor from scene. And then I'll just pick this character in here. So you can do that, or you can do it manually by just using this draw debug focus plane. You should be able to see something in here. I don't know why I'm not seeing something in here. Supposed to be able to see something in here. Okay, yeah, I found it now. So it's showing now. Showing now. So we can bring this like so. If we want to, I'll turn that off. Okay. So if we want to kind of make the blur effect a bit stronger, we can do that by, let's leave that for now because it won't really matter because we're going to be adding some volumetric fog in here. But one thing I would like to do would be to, can still remember that, let's set this back to manual. Okay, bring this more or less like so. Okay, that should be fine. Yes, I need to set the focal length. Focal length for this, let's use 50. No, I think we need a wider lens. Let's use a wider lens. Let's do 30 instead. Okay, I'll turn this off. So now let's go over to our fog. So exponential height fog. We'll scroll down and turn on volumetric fog. Okay, you might not see anything happening in here is because we need to adjust this. Let me kind of zoom out. Okay. No, the distance should be quite closer. Let's say adjust this more. Let me use an extreme value in here. Let's say we use 20. Fantastic. You can see how this is kind of peeking through now. Okay. We also have start distance. You can adjust the start distance. So let's say you want to kind of push the fog backward a bit more. You can use this adjust distance. You can see. Okay. So let me do a bit, extend this a bit more, make it a little bit stronger. You can see already kind of capturing something quite similar to our main. Oh, come on. Something quite similar to our main reference. Okay, this one is kind of floating. These two are kind of floating. Let's bring them down. Okay. Maybe even bring them closer. Yeah, let's get them closer. Okay. I'll select this and this also to bring it closer. Okay. I'll select my mannequin, gets framed in. Okay. And I feel like I should also make my status quite bigger also too. So I'm going to put all of them in a group. Let's put all of them in a group so we can easily identify them. So this is it. I'll create a new folder for them. I'm just going to name this to start to. Okay, that should be fine. I will select all of them. I would like to scale them out, make them quite bigger than they seem right now. Undo that as the wrong place. Okay, I will move them this way. I think I'm off camera, so let's set this back in here. Okay, make them sit pretty much on the floor some more. Maybe some of them even buried into the floor. All right. Yeah, this is looking good. So click out. So we have something like this now. So now the next thing we need to do will be to add our post processing volume in here. I'll do it under quick save. Okay, yeah, okay, just before we do post process volume, we need to bring in our Blade Runner character into this. So I'm going to providing the link to kind of download that. So this is it in here. So I'm just going to pretty much unzip this. So extract file here. Okay. Did it even extract is it extracted the file? I should pretty much drag this somewhere instead. Copy this. Let's bring that closer to our main file. I'll just paste this here. Then I'm just going to unzip this. So extracts, okay. Yeah, that's fine. So I'll open that up. So this we need the FBX. Is the FBX you actually need. So come back here under assets. I'm going to create a new folder. So let's create a new folder in here. New folder. I'm just going to name this folder to Officer K. Yes, no space, but completely forgot. No space. Okay, in here. Then we just need to bring in the FBX. So I'm just going to drag and drop the FBX in here. Okay, can we drag and drop? Yes. But now we don't really need the material because we're pretty much going to be seeing just the silhouette alone. But if we also want to bring the materials, that is also still fine. So if I should, let me scroll down to where we see materials. Okay, you can just turn it off if you need to, because it's going to see we're going to see only the silhouette alone. So let's turn that off. I'll click on import. So it's important now. Let's give this a moment to kind of get imported into our scene. All right. So okay, still importing. Give this a moment. Okay. So it has imported. So all we need to bring into our scene now is to start with the static mesh. So let's find the static mesh. We can filter this and then just do static mesh alone. Okay. Let's say we turn all of this off. We want to just view the static mesh alone. Oh no, let's leave them on actually. We can just select them from the options we have in here. Material, okay. So static meshes. Okay. Letter mesh. So I'm going to use that kind of replace what we have in here. So I'm just going to drag and drop this in here like so. I'm going to scale it down. Or the scale to scale this down. Maybe just something somewhat like so. Rotate it this way. All right. Move this around here. Then I can pretty much just select this now and delete. Yes, we don't need that anymore. Just delete those. So it's just pretty much all we need now. But now there's no animation to it because I've not kind of brought in the animation yet. Or I've not added the animation yet. So on our level sequencer, on the sequencer for this, all we need to do is to go to and find, select it, Officer K, drag and drop this into our sequencer. I'll scroll. Okay, this is it in here. So we need to add the animation. Click on the plus icon. So by default, it's going to find the animation because it's kind of imported in the same. So let's import the animation in. This is the animation slider in here. And move this. Okay, yes. Yes, that's fine. So if we should kind of select this and hit space bar, you can see how we get some animations playing in there now. Okay, it's kind of precisely what we want. Okay, I believe hold down control and then shrink this down, shrink the timeline down some more. All right, so I've not added any animation to our camera yet, but before we do that, let's now go over to the plus icon. Let me do a quick save, then go to the plus icon. I'm going to import, where's that again, volumes. So post process post process volume. I'll bring this in. So pretty much it's more or less like our like where you find your curves adjustments, levels adjustments, and then saturation and the rest, almost similar to camera raw filter inside of Photoshop. So with that selected now, we need to make sure it's affecting the entire scene. So I'm going to go to type in bound. So infinite extent in unbound. So I'm going to turn that on. So it's going to be affecting our entire scene, which is precisely what we want. Let me move this up some more. So now with that selected, now we can make some corrections to our scene. We can go in and add bloom. Okay, click on the intensity. You can see how we're getting more bloom to our scene. Here we can bring some bloom to it. Okay, there are quite a lot of options in here to adjust. Let's turn on some vignetting. Let's get some vignetting in our scene. Think I might be turning I need to turn something on first to use that, I believe. Let's see. Let me collapse this. Let's find where that is supposed to be. Okay. Or maybe let us keep that for now, but we need some chromatic aberration. I'll need just let's see if we go to extreme. Let's see what we have when we go extreme. We don't want too much though, just a little light, so should be fine. Okay. We have local exposure. We also have lens flare. Lens flare. Let's turn on this lens flare. Let's see if we get anything interesting in there. Maybe we should kind of look at the lights. Probably not because of the volumetric fog we have in there. I don't see. We have something going on in there. Let's turn this on. Let's use a color. Let's say move this towards more bluish tone. Let's go back to our post. Let me type this in. Post process volume. Select it. Quite a lot of setting in here, but there's a particular one I'm actually looking for. You can by yourself kind of play with this if you must. This particular one I'm looking for in here. Yes, we need some green. Just a tiny amount of green should be fine. Then let me keep finding the others. This particular one I'm looking for. Is this? Yeah, this should be it. Yeah, I found its color grading. So open up this color grading. Let's turn on the saturation. Yes, okay. We can adjust the saturation a bit more if we need to. So kind of depending what you're going for, you can actually adjust this however way you want. Maybe something like so. Make it a bit more intense. All right. Also too, we can adjust the contrasts. Open up the arrow. Get some slight contrast in there. Adjust the values. Okay, that is fine. So you pretty much have like controls over the entire thing. Let's see if this I won't do more because we don't really have a scene that we kind of see various light bouncing around themselves that much. This is more or less like an open scene. You should get more results when you kind of working with an interior scene instead. Okay, I think this is fine. So now let's kind of do like an animation in here. Let's do like a basic animation in here. And find an angle to this like so. So if I go to our Cinecam, if I should open transform. Okay, rotation, scale, location. I should open that up. So you have the X, Y, and Z. I believe, let me move this all the way here first. Move this all the way here first. And I need to kind of let's start a keyframe here. Move all the way to let's move all the way. Let's say, let's do here for now. And then, no, wrong one. Undo that. Yeah, that's the one we needed to adjust. Let's do this again. I'm going to delete that keyframe. Let's go back all the way here. Add a keyframe all the way here. I'm going to zoom, kind of zoom in like so. Okay, I'll extend this all the way to the end again, like so. And I'll just zoom in also on it. All right. So now if we kind of scrub through this and play the animation, you'll be getting something that looks pretty much like so. Okay. So while we're still in here, we can still kind of pretty much adjust, maybe just find another angle like this somewhere around here. Okay. Move this up. All right. Kind of center character in our scene. Maybe move this up this way. Okay. So if you go back and then play this through, you'll be getting something that looks more like so. So depending on the angle, I'm not a camera expert, obviously, as you can see. Doing a pretty lame work in here. But I'm sure you guys kind of get the general idea. Get general idea in here. Okay. So from a distance, we get something looking pretty much like so, kind of getting framed into our scene. All right, I think we can work with this. I'll do a quick save. So now the next step would obviously be to, how do we kind of save this out into a video format. So we have this begin render in here. So if I should open that option, so I'll click on this show settings before quick render. Okay, and if we click on render movie queue, select that now, we can add our sequence in there. So we can add this sequence in there. All right. Let's see if we can find, okay, yes. So for the output setting now, we can see we have this output setting in there, which is fine. We can work with that. Okay. Now the other way is the way to kind of convert this into a video format, but I'm going to render this out like a JPEG sequence and then compile that inside of Photoshop. So I'm going to show you guys how to do that as well. So let's just give this a render and let's see what we get. Okay, yes, one more thing. I think we can make our scene more interesting. I'll go to perspective. Remember the other asset we kind of downloaded from Megascan. So let's go to Fabs. This is static mesh. So let me zoom out first. Though it's not going to be that visible though. So I like to also turn off this. Let's hide the fog for now. Let's hide our fog for now. So pretty much what I want to do in here is to kind of create a mountain shape stuff in here. So let's go over and then drag and drop this in our scene. Let's frame into it, looking quite small. Okay, where we can use values, we can actually use the values in there. So let's do 50. Now that is quite massive. Oh, undo, that's the wrong one. Select this one. This is the one I'm kind of looking for. Oh, undo that again. I want to kind of rotate it this way. I'm basically trying to use this kind of create some more or less like maybe some mountains ahead or something. Okay, let me move this here this way. Get this way. Okay, okay. I don't want to cast as shadows too close to my scene. So maybe somewhere around here should be fine. So let's get back to our camera view. Fantastic. You can see how this kind of creates more or less like a mountain shape in front of us, which is cool. So maybe we can double the amount of this also too. Let's double the amounts. Okay, so just kind of create some mountains at the background. So I'm pretty much just showing you how to kind of make your scene look even more interesting. Maybe make it even 150. 150. Okay. All right. Make a copy of it. Set this copy here. Rotate. Okay. And get that down this way. Maybe even higher. Let's even double the amount of this. Let's do 200. Okay. But this needs to be further down around here. So let's go back to our main camera. Okay. We can do something pretty much like so. Let me scale this up. Okay, it's already locked. Unlock that. Scale this up like so. Maybe even increase the value. Let's lock this. Increase the value to 400. Now that's massive. Let's do to 30. Okay. Then let's turn on our height fog, volumetric fog again. All right. I'll hit G on the keyboard. Let's just click out. I need to get back to our camera view. Okay, so if we should kind of scrub through our animation again, and then maybe select it, move this towards the side a bit more. Shouldn't be too aggressive in front of us, like so. Should be fine. Around here should be fine. Okay, if we scrub through our animation again, let's play our animation through. Okay, yeah, it's like another way to kind of make your scene look quite interesting if you need to kind of get some interesting looking scene in here. All right, so I would hit G on the keyboard to hide everything else. I'll save this scene, and then let's just we can okay, yes. Let me go to perspective view. I feel like there's something else I can still do to make it more interesting. I'll select this old alt. No, undo that old alt. Make a copy. This one I'm going to shrink down 50. Can we get in there? Let's hide this fog for now. Okay. Set this here. Pull it down some more. It should just be something around there. I'll go to our cam. If we should scroll up this back, do we see it? We do not. I need to bring it closer to our camera view. Okay, bring this closer. Let's get this over here. Okay, and I'll change this view in here to the camera view. Okay, so with the mesh selected, no, undo that. That's the wrong one. This one that needs to be selected. So you can see it now is now in our camera view. But I just needed to kind of use this kind of create some interest to our scene. Okay, let's find where it is here and just bury this down a little. And let's get back in here and then let's play this through. Let's see what we get. Okay, let's turn on our volumetric fog and then let's play this through. Yeah, looking good. Go to the volumetric fog again. I'm going to view distance. No. Okay, I need to extend this. Let's do a value of 100. Needed a little bit more. Okay. Yeah, fantastic. This will work just fine. So now let's save this. And now let's save, or rather, let's render this out. So I'm going to click on the render queue again. It's already applied. So we need to specify where this is going to save to. Let's specify where we need to save this to. Outputs. Let's save this to. Okay, we have Blade Runner. Okay, let's create a new folder in here. Name this to movie. Okay, I'll click enter, select folder, accept, and now let's just render this out. So it's going to go through and then render out our scene. So it's compiling all the textures needed now. So pretty much all we need is kind of done. So just wait for this to render out. So I'll see you guys in the next lesson where we compile this. Bye for now.